This is our neighborhood park. It has good views of the hills. There's a redwood stand right next to the picnic area. Our neighborhood high school is right across from it. I hadn't been here in a while. COVID-19 may have had something to do with that. Things seem to have changed since the last time I was here. A labyrinth has come up near the picnic area. People were happily walking it. It was creating a buzz in the neighborhood.
I first learned about the labyrinth from my school's administrative team. They forwarded me an email from Pat Richards.
High school students were seen using it for meditative walking and had adopted it as a good place to hang out. Neighbors were excited about it.
Pat, whose idea this was, has a group once a month on a Saturday where people congregate to enjoy it. We're very proud of this and excited to have it here in this park.
Pat Richards was responsible for bringing it to the Rainbow Park. Who is Pat?
I work at VMware in engineering, software development. I lead a team there that works with technical partners.
She had mobilized her community to make this happen. I had to find out more. I'm very pleased to have Pat Richards here with me today. Pat is the Director of Partner Engineering at VMware in Palo Alto. Her team works with technology partners to integrate their products with her companies. She has a bachelor's and a master's in computer science and engineering. Pat serves as board secretary for ThriveWise, a nonprofit focusing on keeping women in tech. And most importantly, Pat is also the person instrumental in getting a labyrinth built in her neighborhood park. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you.
Let's begin from the very beginning. How did this project come about in your neighborhood park?
Well, I had just finished my Veritas Labyrinth Facilitator training in San Francisco, and I came home and there was an email asking for projects to be suggested for neighborhood parks, and I thought, oh, I should suggest a labyrinth. And so I did, and then I asked neighbors to vote for it, and they did, and now we have one.
Wow. Did you have a partner in this, a friend, a neighbor, a family member who helped you, held your hand?
Yes, Doris is our leader of our neighborhood group, and she was very instrumental in helping me because she works with Parks and Recreation a lot, and so she was invaluable in the process.
Hi, I'm Doris Livesey from this area. I've actually been a board member on the Murdoch Neighborhood Association for about the past 20 years, and I'm a member of the District 1 leadership group that encompasses this whole area from De Anza all the way over to Highway 17. So back in 2018, the city councils were given some discretionary funds for use by residents to make improvements in their community. This labyrinth actually was number 2 vote getter.
What was the process of submitting your proposal to the city? Walk me through the whole thing.
Oh, sure. So the city had a very easy to fill out form, and so I filled that out. And then since the projects are all voted on, then I reached out to my friends and neighbors and I asked them to vote on the project, and they did. And then I was so excited the project was selected. And then I reached out to the city and asked them if they wanted me to suggest a labyrinth designer, and they said yes, and I was thrilled about that too. So I suggested Lars Howlett, and then he actually worked with me, included me in the design process, and we chose a good spot at Rainbow Park along with the city people. It's the hilltop just above the picnic area, so it's perfect. And then it took spring and summer, they were preparing the space, and then Labor Day weekend, Lars texted me and said, hey, I'm going to start working on the labyrinths. Do you want to help? So I helped him during Labor Day, and then I had to go back to work after Labor Day, but I stopped each day because I can walk to Rainbow Park within 10 minutes. And it was great. And we taped the pattern, and then he painted, and the fence came down in late October. And then I hosted my second Saturday walk in November.
How did you know to recommend your designer Lars?
Oh, so I met Lars at a mindfulness conference in San Francisco in 2014. And then I bumped into him again when I helped rebuild the Lanzen Labyrinth in San Francisco. And so we just kept meeting, and then he actually, through him, I came to know about Lauren Artress's work at Grace Cathedral. She brought the labyrinths to Grace Cathedral, and Veritas, which did my labyrinth training. And then I also took an online temporary labyrinth course from Lars in the summer of 2020, so that's how I knew him.
So he's a labyrinth designer.
He's very creative, and he's very passionate about bringing labyrinths to the world, so he was perfect for our project.
Why do you think your proposal gets selected by the city of San Jose?
So I think there are three main reasons. One is I reached out to friends and family, and then they were very supportive. The second one is that there are a number of people in the neighborhood I've met since that already knew about labyrinths, and they thought, oh, that's a great idea. And then I also suspect that some people, when they saw it listed as a choice, they looked it up online and thought, oh, yeah, that is a good idea. So I think it's the three, the people that knew me, the people that knew about the labyrinth, and the people that were introduced to the labyrinth.
So what is your advice to neighborhoods who are trying to improve their community spaces?
Right. I would say look at the community groups or neighborhood groups that are available to you, and bring your idea to them and ask them for suggestions on how to bring the idea forward to get it funded. And the other thing is make sure you share your passion about it, because it's infectious and you'll get more people behind you. And then the other thing is don't give up, because if it's not the right time now, it might be in the future. So if it doesn't work right away, then keep trying.
Persevere.
Yeah.
Did you have any visibility in the process, like how many proposals had been received and how many were going to be selected?
Oh, well, so when they put the voting out to the community after the call for proposals, then you can see all the ones that were suggested, and then people vote. So you see all the proposals, and then you can reach out even more to people and say, pick mine, and then after that, then they also show you which ones were picked. And the way they pick them basically is they stack rank by votes, as far as I can tell, and then they just keep funding till they run out of the budget.
Were they in touch with you? Was some city government officials in touch with you, telling you like where your proposal was, or
Oh,
what?
that was really Doris. Doris was my liaison there.
So she knew about it?
Yeah.
How?
Well, she's been active as the head of our Murdoch Neighborhood Association. Then she's active with the city anyway, and in funding projects like, new plants and benches and things like that in the parks. So she already had those relationships established.
So every neighborhood has a liaison, or is your neighborhood special?
I think most of them do. Some of them are more active than others. But that's how you can look on Nextdoor, online, and you can figure out who's in your neighborhood and what kind of neighborhood association they have.
So note to self, become a liaison, become active if you want something in your neighborhood. Right?
That's right. Yes,
Right.
well, definitely, that's true.
What is a labyrinth and what is so special about it?
So a labyrinth is designed for you to find yourself, whereas a maze is designed for you to lose yourself. And that's a big difference, because some people use the words synonymously, but they're not. So the labyrinth is an ancient form. It's been found worldwide in Europe, North America, Asia, and definitely there are some key labyrinths in India. And the earliest petroglyphs date to 4,000 years ago, so it's been with us for a long time. There are different kinds of labyrinths. There's the classical style, which is 7 circuit, And then there's the medieval style. They have at Chartres Cathedral in France, at Grace Cathedral in San Francisco, they have 2 of those. And then at Stanford University, they also have one.
There is an academic building?
Oh, yeah, Windhover Center. It's a meditation center, and outside of it is a labyrinth that you can walk. And it's beautiful. And then there's also contemporary labyrinths, and the Rainbow Park Labyrinth, that's a contemporary labyrinth. And that had to be contemporary because the city required that we meet the Americans with Disabilities Act requirements, and so that required a standard sized path, but a lot of distance between the winding parts of the path. And the labyrinth consists of an entryway and a winding path into the center. And so the way you walk it is you release all the cares as you walk toward the center. When you get to the center, you receive whatever is there for you. And then when you're ready, you return back the same path back to the world, and you feel a lot better off for it.
The central part looks different from the paths, right? So what is the central part all about?
Oh, sure. Rainbow Park Labyrinth has a special center that is based on what's called the seed of life. It's 7 interlocking circles, and when you look at them, they're all the same size, and when you look at them, it resembles patterns in nature, such as a seed opening, and that's why it's called the seed of life. And Lars chose that, and it just makes a beautiful center.
I'm a fan of Indus civilization art. And so on the pottery, there are these intersecting circles. And also, you may have also seen the seed of life pattern in the Temple of Osiris in Egypt. So very ancient sacred geometry is what it reminds me of.
Right, that's right. Yes, it's based on that.
Now, this is what really, really interests me. Now that the labyrinth is here, a beautiful feature in the Rainbow Park, how is the community engaging with it?
There's lots of different ways. So, and I walk there every day with my husband, and I've seen little kids doing yo-yo tricks along the colored path. I've seen Lynbrook High School students practicing improv. Just yesterday, I couldn't walk the labyrinth because some people they were rehearsing for a show with, batons and things. So the community finds all kinds of amazing ways to interact, even beyond walking the labyrinth. And the other thing that I've done is for the monthly walk, I realized it's good to have the labyrinth, spruced up, like get the dust off and clean up the path. And so I've asked Lynbrook High School to help me, the students to help me. And so Jason Lee, who is the Associated Student Board leader for the Leadership Club, he has his students volunteer on a monthly basis, and those students, boy, they work hard. It's 2 hours, and they're not looking at their phones. They're working hard cleaning up the labyrinth. They have good ideas on what we should do, and they're happy to learn about the labyrinth, and so I'm hoping that they can use that to de-stress before finals and college apps and everything.
My name is Jason Lee. I'm a science teacher at Lynbrook as well as a student leadership advisor. I first learned about the labyrinth from my school's administrative team. They forwarded me an email from Pat Richards about the labyrinth's existence and student volunteers that could help support in cleaning and maintaining it on a monthly basis. So once a month, I ask student volunteers to come and help clean and maintain the labyrinth with Pat Richards. They are able to help make sure it is maintained well and clean, and then afterwards they're recommended to use it for themselves. I think a lot of them are able to see this more now that they're aware of what it is, especially being right across school. It's a great way for them to free themselves of distractions and responsibilities and chores, instead focus on just themselves for a few minutes. They enjoy being outdoors, and they feel like it helps clear their heads a bit by using the labyrinth.
Wow. Who else is engaging? You mentioned something about you having a lot of meetings and such things.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so in December, my team at work, we wanted to have a lunch for the holidays, And I knew, you know, the restaurants would be busy and all that kind of stuff. So we actually got pizza from Cicero's, which is also nearby, and we went to the picnic area, and then I introduced them to the labyrinth, and they walked it. So it was a wonderful team building exercise. Then I suggested that idea to the Santa Clara University students that I work with in the Society of Women Engineers, and they did a team building event there, and then they texted me, and I went down and talked to them about the labyrinth, and they all walked it, and it was really cool. They stood in the center and shared their intentions, and they said it helped them de-stress before finals. And then also ThriveWise, the nonprofit I work with, we did a team building there as well.
You said something about, you know, when you're walking the path, you leave your problems behind. When we were discussing earlier in the park, you said there is an actual thing that happens to your mind when you're walking. Could you tell our viewers about it?
Oh, sure. So very simply, because the path is so twisty and turny and winding, right, then you're forced, even though it's very simple, I mean, there's a straight path to the center, there's no tricks, you're forced to focus on the path. And so as you focus on the path, then your mind quiets and opens up, and so then you just become calmer.
Hi, my name is Mary Tanner. I live in the neighborhood, and my husband and I walk in the neighborhood. I'm here maybe twice a week on my own. On days when I don't feel like going for a walk, I think, oh, I'll just go to the labyrinth. And every time I come, you know, I enjoy the pretty colors, and it lifts my spirits, so I'm always happy after I have walked the labyrinth. And then recently, when my older son got laid off from his job, he's been going through the job application process and getting interviews, and it's been so stressful. And on days when it's very stressful, sometimes I'll bring him over here, and the two of us will walk the labyrinth. And to me, it seems that walking a defined path on days when your life seems out of control, you walk the labyrinth and you know where you're going and the path is set, and it just seems to bring a sense of calm on a very stressful day.
This
Yes.
is what mindfulness is all about, and it reboots your brain, right?
That's right, and it's a good form of, say, walking meditation, so that, you know, before you go in, you might be like, and then, you know, you walk it and you come out and you're like, oh, those things, I can solve them.
Then I remember you saying that solutions to problems, work problems, have occurred to you there when you're walking the labyrinth.
Yes, and what happens there is sometimes what I do is I will set an intention before I enter the labyrinth, and I'll just say, like, okay, this problem's really gnarly, and gee, I'd love to get some new insight. And then you walk the labyrinth, but you don't think about the problem. Okay, because what you want is not your conscious mind, which hasn't been able to solve it yet. You want to open up for your unconscious mind to kind of open up new avenues of thought. Sometimes on the labyrinth, sometimes later, a little later, I'll realize how to reframe the problem and get a solution.
So not consciously, it just comes.
Right.
Just because you've not been thinking of your problem.
That's right. That's right. That's the key. If you went there and just thought about it the whole time, then that wouldn't work.
Where did you first learn about the labyrinth?
Oh, so I was on a trip to Ireland with my husband, who's from Ireland, and we'd been sightseeing all day, and we were kind of tired, but we came upon the Glendalough Visitor Center, and there was this path cut into the grass. And even though I was tired, I was drawn to walk it, and I didn't know what it was, and I walked it, and I just thought, wow, that's amazing. And then, you know, I didn't think too much of it, but then a few months later, back at home, I found a book in a bookshop about labyrinths, and I bought it. And then I was reading the book, and all of a sudden I said, hey, Ulick, you know what? Well, we walked in Glendalough, that was a labyrinth. And he goes, oh yeah, you're right. So then we started looking for local labyrinths, and there is a worldwide labyrinth locator on the web. And so we did find labyrinths locally to walk, but we always dreamed of having one that we could just walk to every day, and now we have one.
You've brought a labyrinth to this conversation.
Oh.
What is this prop
This
that
one,
you
so
have?
this is a medieval style labyrinth, and it is called a finger labyrinth. So while the one we're talking about in Rainbow Park is a walking labyrinth, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, finger labyrinths were very important because people were during shelter in place, people couldn't gather to walk the labyrinth. And so, so we would gather online to walk the labyrinth with our fingers. And I mean, finger labyrinths existed before that, but it was a good thing they were around because that was really helpful. And you don't even need to have like a nice thing like this nice present my husband got me. You can actually print a sheet of the labyrinth off the internet and trace it with your fingers that way as well.
So you just sit at your desk and then you
Right.
just, it's meditative, right?
Yes. Yeah. Before big meetings, I'll do a finger labyrinth maybe.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Don't people find you strange doing this?
Oh, no. Well, they don't know I did it. Now that we're working from home, it doesn't come on Zoom.
Sign of our times. Give me some thoughts about what else do you want to see happen around the labyrinth that has now come to your neighborhood park?
Yeah, I would like to get more of the school students and faculty of so Lynbrook High School is right across the street. Then Miller Middle School is actually down the block in the same block as Rainbow Park. And then Dilworth Elementary School is close by, as well as Murdoch Portal is just on the other side of Johnson. And so what I plan to do for the next school year is to reach out to those schools and offer to do, they could do a field trip because they could walk to the labyrinth, and then they could do a picnic at the picnic area, and then I could tell the students about the labyrinth. And then if the faculty were interested, I could do meetings for them as well.
Labyrinths remind me of mandals in India or Tibet or other places that abut India. Do they remind you of those?
Yeah, well, because they are beautiful too. Actually, when we were first doing the labyrinth in Rainbow Park, people were saying, "Oh, is this an art project?" And I thought it was interesting because since I know what a labyrinth is, it never occurred to me to think of it as an art project. But I said, well, in a way, yes, because they are beautiful. And so I love the beauty and the function.
What's with all the colors in the labyrinth in Rainbow Park?
So that was inspired by, well, one, the name of the park, which is Rainbow Park, because it has all the colors of the labyrinth and actually even all the colors of the chakras. So because it has two blues, not one blue.
Chakra?
Yeah, and the other thing was because the city required it to be compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act, then we had to have a regular sized path and a lot of distance between the path, the turns in the path. And so Lars thought it would be a good idea to paint the path instead of the background so that it would be very clear what you were supposed to do. And we actually now have a sign that tells you what to do also, so I'm excited about that. They did a beautiful job with the sign.
Is it World Labyrinth Day sometime about now?
Right. Yes, so Worldwide Labyrinth Day, it's walk as one at one. So throughout the world, people that are enthusiastic about labyrinths, at 1 o'clock in their time zone, we all walk. It's the first Saturday in May.
Okay. Any other thoughts about the labyrinth that you want to share with our viewers?
Oh, sure. So one thing about the labyrinth that I love about it is that there's no wrong way to walk it. So we talked about the 3 R's, the release, receive, return. But, it's really I just want to encourage everyone to try it because it might be fun. You might get something out of it. And if you don't, at least you got some steps. Because it's very efficient for steps as well, step count. Because in a small space, you need to get, with all the winding path, you get a lot of steps. So
useful to know.
So you can try that. And actually, I've had people tell me that they tried it because I'm so enthusiastic. And then all of a sudden, they figured out for themselves why it mattered. And then they kept doing it. So I would just like to invite everybody to at least give it a try.
So thank you, Pat, for coming here today.
Oh,
thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for the
Pleasure
idea.
was all mine. A discussion about labyrinths cannot be complete without a look back at their historical character, when the term labyrinth was synonymous with maze. As a young girl in India, I had heard about a famous labyrinth called a Chakravyuh. It was a battle formation in Mahabharata, an ancient Indian epic in which 2 branches of a family Pandavas and Kauravas battled for the throne of Hastinapur in the Kurukshetra war. On the 13th day of the war, Abhimanyu, the son of the third Pandav prince Arjun, finds himself in a Chakravyuh created by the Kauravas. As a fetus in his mother's womb, he had heard his father Arjun narrate the strategy of fighting one's way through the Chakravyuh, but he had not been able to hear the part about getting out, as his mother had fallen asleep at the crucial moment. Abhimanyu fights valiantly, but not knowing how to fight one's way out of the labyrinth, is killed by his deceitful uncles. Over the years, I had also read about the mythical Cretan labyrinth designed by Daedalus to enable the Minoan king Minos to trap Minotaur. The beast is ultimately killed by the Athenian prince Theseus with the help of Ariadne, daughter of Minos, and Pasiphae, who gives Theseus a ball of thread to help him remember the way out of the Minotaur's labyrinth. These old mythical labyrinths were mazes meant to trap. Somewhere down the lanes of time, labyrinths separated from multicursal mazes with choice of path and direction to unicursal labyrinths with a single path to the center, a geometry that reminds us of the interconnectedness of life, where focusing on the path slows you down, everything else melts away, and you find yourself. This has been a delightful journey of discovery. The best of it was seeing a community come together, first to select a project and then to adopt it to hang out, walk, and meditate. Pat Richards has to be lauded for her perseverance in bringing the labyrinth to the Rainbow Park. Thank you for watching. See you next time.